Hey guys, it's Chris cooking for Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks. Today I've got this. Prices are high for about $6 or $7. I got all of these country style ribs at Aldi. That's a good amount of meat for that price. So let's see what we can do with these country style ribs. We always love eating these. Now, I'm sure there's another name for these. If you know what the name is, feel free to share it. But everywhere we buy it, it's called country style ribs. So let's get started with a good recipe. Okay, if you've never had country style ribs before, I encourage you to try them. They're really, really good. Meaty, got plenty of meat. They have a lot of flavor. Anytime you're using pork, pork's got plenty of flavor. So I'm going to cover these and they need to be dry. If you wash them, just make sure that they're dry before you cook them. But I'm going to cover them with some kosher salt and some pepper to start off with. Let's flip these over. You can see they got some fat. That's where the flavor is. Fat, it's where the flavor is. Get some more salt on there. More pepper. Okay, that should be plenty. Okay, I've got this on about a medium heat for our gas stove. I'm going to put a touch of olive oil in here. Don't need much. I'm going to let this get hot for a few minutes and I'll put these in and we're going to sear these. Or really just brown them really good. All right, it's getting hot. And you can see these guys have sides. So I'll be flipping them over and rotating them around and all that kind of stuff to brown all the sides. So it's going to take a little while to brown them or to sear them. Okay, but that's fine because we got some other stuff to do. I'm using a Braiser today. Braiser is a pan with a lid that you can cook on the stove or in the oven, and the lid is going to hold in all your moisture. Okay, so that's what we're using today. That's my favorite way to cook by far. Okay, so while we got that going on over there, I got several things over here I could be doing. The first thing I want to do is I want to take a couple of cups of water, and I'm going to add some granulated bouillon in there. So I'm going to heat this up in the microwave. Going to get that nice and hot. I've got some herbs I got out of our garden. I've got some basil. So I'm going to pick the leaves off of that. And we'll see how much this turns out to be once I cut it up. So I got all this stuff washed up and clean. All right. That looks to be a good teaspoon. Got some rosemary. Rosemary is really strong. You don't have to have as much of it. Let that water heated up. Let's throw in heaping teaspoon of bouillon. I believe this is chicken bouillon, beef or chicken. It doesn't really matter what you use for this. Just some bouillon, or if you have any stock or bone broth or anything like that will work. So we got that mixed up. All right, there's my rosemary. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Okay, and let's get some of this thyme. Try to not get the little stems in there. Now you don't have to use fresh herbs. You can use dried herbs. Just something to add some flavor. Of course, anytime you can use fresh herbs, it's good. Good thing to do. I just planted the thyme out in the garden, so it's pretty new addition to our herbs out there. Hopefully, it'll survive. Really, I probably have more herbs here than I even need. We'll, as we add them in, we'll kind of see how much we add. But I anticipate about a teaspoon to half a teaspoon to each one. I'm going to try to sear all these sides. Okay, I want about 4 cloves of garlic. I just want to peel these. All I want is to peel these. Okay. I'm pretty much just going to put these in there whole. One more turn from the pork. And I'm going to take these green onions. Cut off those ends. Chop them up. All right, so we're getting a little bit of glaze in there on the pan. So I'll take a little touch of this bouillon. Deglaze it. Teaspoon of my herbs. The garlic. The onions. Touch more. Now, Braisers have a nice big heavy lid. I'm going to cover that up. I shouldn't really lose hardly any moisture in there. I'm going to let this cook about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to add my other vegetables in. Okay, so we're going to let this kind of marry all these flavors together here, and then we'll add everything else in it. Now I'm going to have to kind of keep an eye on it because I'm not exactly sure what heat. I mean, you can see it's cooking pretty good, and at this point I have it on low. All right, so I'm going to just kind of keep an eye on it here. I don't want it to get dry. All right, I want it to keep its liquid. So while that's going on over there, I can put up a few things here. Can wipe off my cutting board and wipe off my counter. The cool thing about a braiser, using a braiser, is you're not having to turn your oven on. Now, yeah, you're cooking on the stove top, that kind of stuff. But you can cook for a long time on that stove top with a braiser. And it's good for all different kinds of meat. Really works great. These are my vegetables I'm going to add to it. Got a couple of stalks of celery, and I'm going to cut these fairly large. I'm not going to make little bitty pieces. I'm going to cut them into chunks. Kind of like cooking what you would do for a roast or a stew. Okay. All right, potatoes. We'll pretty much quarter these. All right, let's see what we got going over here with this meat. Okay, you can see it's still maintaining its moisture in there. Just kind of cooking away. That smells good now. And these are my favorite kind of potato right here. Delish. Now, the other cool thing about using a braiser is it's a one-pot meal. It's easy to do. You don't have to have a whole lot of cooking skills. Like I cut those. I mean, you can see my knife skills aren't any good. You know, anybody can do it. Can cook something in a braiser. You don't have to buy a real expensive one. You can get them fairly cheap. The main thing is just making sure that it's got a nice heavy lid. Now we do have other braisers. We have several, and there's some on our website. If you want to look on www.coloradovalleycooks.com, you'll be able to see some other styles besides this. Dutch ovens. A lot of people use Dutch ovens. They make cast iron. There's all kinds of different ones. So you can look on our site and see anything that we use in our kitchen, we've got on that site. All right, this has been cooking about 5 or 6 minutes. Let me let y'all kind of get a glimpse in here. You can see it's still got all of its liquid. All right. And look at that rich kind of broth we got going down in there. Now, if I took the lid off of this, I could reduce all of that down. It's reducing down a little bit. That's the cool thing about these. If it does reduce down, it reduces down really slowly. So it's cooking slow. It's really letting all that flavor, tie together. Now, of course, with those garlic cloves, be mindful. You're going to need to take those out. You don't want somebody taking a big bite of a garlic clove. I just have that in there for flavor. You could cut them up. You could dice them up. Whatever. I just like to do that way. It's a little convenient. I don't have to cut them up and all that kind of stuff. Just make sure you don't leave them in there. It's been about 10 minutes. You can see it's reduced down. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put the rest of this bouillon in here. I'm going to add my other vegetables. All right, I'm going to cover it back up. Cut it down on simmer. Okay, I'm going to cut it on a really, really low temperature, and I'm going to let it cook. Just let it kind of simmer here for a while. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and once these vegetables get done, everything should be good and ready. All right, but at this point, like I said, you're turning that temperature down. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. Let's do kind of a checkup here. It's a little longer. I'll cook it about 10 more minutes on this same temperature. Okay, it's been 10 more minutes. I want to cook some of this liquid off of here. So I'm going to leave it on the same temperature, and I'm going to let it cook until I reduce some of this liquid. That's another 10 minutes with the lid off. You can see how much the liquid's reduced down. I want it reduced down even more. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. Give it about 5 more minutes. So far this is 30 minutes lid on, 10 minutes lid off. We're going to let it keep cooking another 5 to 10 minutes. It looks good. It's got a nice broth down there. Meat looks good and tender. Let's check it out. Tammy's here. She's going to try it out. What did we say we were going to call this, Tammy?
I'm going to call it country style ribs with vegetables, and it's going to go in the master cookbook if I like it.
Okay.
Because I need some pork recipes. And you know, lots of times you can get these for a good price. They don't really break the bank per se. Now, let's see if I can get me another one. Get it on the plate. That looks good. My favorite's the carrots. Man, you know what? Biscuits would be good with this because of this broth in the bottom. Mm-hmm. To sop up the broth with. That would have been really good. Beggars can't be choosers, though.
Now, it takes a while to make. It took about 50 minutes.
You want to make sure that you cook it slow, because the slower you cook it, it's like a roast. More tender it's going to be. And that Braiser makes good stuff. Yeah, it's good and tender. Very tender. I could just smash it with my knife. That's how tender it is, which is delicious for pork. Delish. Let's taste it. Get it in that sauce. Oh, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. It's really good. You can taste those fresh herbs. And you know what? We've got them in our garden. So when you have stuff like that readily available, you may as well pick some and use it, because boy, does it enhance the flavors on your plate. My mama didn't use them, but I can guarantee you one thing. This mama's going to use them, and this daddy's going to use them, and our kids will use them. Something that we didn't grow up doing, but it sure is good, ain't it, Chris?
It's awesome.
It is awesome. Absolutely delicious. You could add just another cup of broth in the bottom when you're heating it up at the end. Make you a pan of biscuits. Sop up the sauce. Boy, this is a good country pork dinner. I know you're going to try it. You're going to love it. I'm definitely putting it in the cookbook. We thank you for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Chris did. Bye, y'all. Love ya.